Okay, good morning, everyone. Appreciate you taking time to join us. We also appreciate Steve making time as well. As always, use the raised hand function if you want to ask questions, and keep your line on mute unless you're asking questions. So we will start off with the first three. Cam, Josh, and Kyle, please.
Good morning. What was the decision to move on from Patrick Peterson, and did you guys offer him a contract?
The thing about Patrick is he has been a tremendous player here for a long time. And when I think back to his time here, it made me think about you go through high school and you're there for 4 years, and then you go through 4 years of college, and those relationships continue to grow over time. And you look back and you have some of your best friends from those years. And to think about the fact that Patrick Peterson was with us for 10 years and built relationships throughout our building. I had a great relationship with Pat. So to have these type of decisions are extremely difficult. It happened with Adrian Wilson in his career, who is one of my right-hand men and does a fantastic job for us. And it's not a fun part of the business. But we wish Pat the best and are excited about his opportunity in Minnesota.
Hey, Steve, when it comes to AJ Green, can you kind of just walk me through the process of, why you targeted him, and then, how much you think he has left in the tank? And then the other question is, he said that he's kind of excited about getting one-on-ones. He says the first time in his career, he won't be the one that's targeted by the defense. Can you kind of just, talk a little bit what you think about what he can accomplish one-on-one, and obviously complimenting Hopkins in that sense?
Well, it all starts with the tape, and I don't think his stats are really telling a great story about the type of player he still is, in my opinion. I think he was targeted 118 times. We charted it. I think there was 38 balls that were uncatchable, to our scouts and to our coaching staff. So he's still got a lot left in the tank, in my opinion. Runs great routes, really strong in traffic. I think he was the third best receiver in the NFL this past year with catching balls in traffic, and really strong hands, still has the vertical speed, runs crisp routes, and is a guy with great character. And that was something that we looked to in free agency this year when we added players, regardless of position, guys with great character and leadership skills.
Hey, Steve, you feel like cornerback is still a spot that you're focusing on? And when it comes to Byron, would you rather keep him in the slot? Could he move outside, or would you rather keep him there?
To answer your question, so Byron can play outside. He's done it before. I think, to find guys who can play inside is a little more difficult than years in the past. It's a really tough position with two-way goes and the quickness that's required to play inside. And we think Murph's one of the better inside corners in the NFL. He can play outside as well. Every team has holes, and one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to panic and do things that are put you in a tough situation from a cap standpoint. So we'll continue to monitor the market. There's different avenues that we can take, whether it's through free agency, trade options, or even the NFL draft.
Next three, please. Let's go Bob, Mike, Catherine.
Steve, is there anything at all you've heard from Larry? Where are we with the whole situation?
We've texted a few times, but nothing to the extent of his intentions.
Steve, Rodney Hudson, you look at the numbers and just talk about the physicality and how much he's going to do for this offense, the rush game, the protection, Kyler Murray. I mean, how shocked are you to have Rodney Hudson now?
Well, I think he's a tremendous player, and I think it was an opportunity that presented itself to trade for him. I go back years ago to when I scouted him at Florida State, and he's still the same type of player that I saw there. We had high grades across the board on him, from Sean Kugler to our personnel department. So not only Mike as a player, what he brings to the table, but his leadership, the intangibles, are really what excited us.
Steve, to follow up on Rodney, when did you realize there was that opportunity for a trade, and what was the timeline like there?
Well, like everybody, I saw the news that he was potentially going to be released, which shocked me because of the type of player that I saw on tape. So then when the opportunity presented itself and I talked to Mike Mayock, we tried to pull the trigger extremely quick. It took a matter of minutes to get the deal done. And again, really excited about what he brings to the table, not only on the field, but in the locker room as well.
Next up, please, Kevin, Mark, and Darren.
Hey, Steve, obviously today with those signings, it looks like you have depth and options on the offensive line. Do you feel good about that right now? And at right guard specifically, do you see a competition there?
I feel great about the depth. Certainly, in my time as a GM here, I think this is one of the deeper units we've had. Starting with DJ Humphries on the left side at tackle, and then having the ability to bring back Kelvin Beachum, who we thought played excellent last year. I think there's going to be a lot of competition, and Sean Kugler is committed to truly putting the best five out there. So it's going to be a fun offseason to see these guys compete at those different spots, and really what materializes is our best five.
Hey, Steve, thanks for the time today. Hey, regarding AJ Green signing, I'm wondering what that means for your receiver room as a whole. And to get in one more Larry question, how would that impact his role in the offense if he were to come back?
We primarily see him as our Z receiver, but we'll move all those guys around to create different mismatches against the defenses we see. As far as Larry, it doesn't have any effect on where he would line up. And again, the more talent you can have at any position, the more depth, the more playmakers we can acquire, certainly excites us.
Steve, I know you're talking about the depth on the offensive line. Do you see Justin Pugh as your left guard? I know you mentioned Beachum and Humphries. Do you see Pugh as the left guard, or is there still some up in the air with that?
No, I do. I do see Justin as our left guard, and I think he had one of his best seasons as a pro last year. Played extremely consistent, and really excited about what he did for us on the field. The addition of Brian Winters excites me. He's a guy that I've watched for years, dating back to Kent State when he came out. Really physical player, smart, really good quickness in a short area, and I think he does a great job in pass protection. So he's a guy that certainly will have a chance to compete, and as well as signing back Max Garcia, who can play guard or center for us.
Next up, please, Jess, Omar, and Josh.
Hey, Steve, they've talked a little bit about cornerback. What are kind of your plans still at running back and tight end, but in terms between now and the draft? Are you going to be comfortable with Chase? Do you see yourselves adding someone to help him in his role this next season?
Well, no different from corner. I think it's, those are positions that we'll continue to monitor, not only the market, but there'll be positions that we look at in the draft process. So anytime that we can add additional playmakers, we'll take those opportunities. And, I think Chase having this opportunity is going to be huge for him. I think he's shown the ability to be an excellent back in this league with his quickness and his run style. Again, we'll continue to monitor those positions throughout the spring.
Hey, Steve, good to see you.
Good to see you.
3 of your big name acquisitions this offseason have been from the 2011 draft class, obviously still playing at a high level. The 3 of them, their presence in the locker room, how does that help the sense of urgency to win now and sort of complete this, turnaround and get back to the postseason?
Yeah, two of our offseason goals, I think, that really stand out to me was becoming more physical as a football team and adding leadership to our locker room. And I think that those 3 guys all bring not only the physicality of the game, but the leadership and the intangibles you look for to, in many respects, I call it self-policing your locker room, which, we can't go home with these guys at night. We can't tell them how much tape to watch. They have to do it on their own. They have to have the passion and the want to. And those 3 additions, certainly in my opinion, have really raised the bar for us in that respect.
Steve, off of that question, were you looking for guys in their 30s? Because obviously, I think it's 30, 31, 32, whatever it is between those guys. Were you specifically looking for guys who are in their early 30s or just in their 30s in general?
No, I just think it's the way the opportunities presented themselves. You have guys that are, sort of decline in their late 20s and early 30s, and then there's guys who continue to play at a high level, as guys like Larry Fitzgerald have. I mean, the way they take care of their bodies, the way they train in the off season, the way they eat, all of those things give guys an opportunity to play later in their career. And for example, Matt Prater, who in my opinion is still one of the better kickers in the NFL, so the addition of him at age 36 is huge for us.
Next up, we'll take Bob, Mike, and Howard.
Steve, how would you characterize free agency for the Cardinals to date overall, and how much more could there be? And have you signed Andy Lee?
Yes, we signed Andy Lee back to a one-year deal. I'm really excited about the additions, and the goal all along was, quality over quantity. I mean, to be able to acquire guys that have done it in the past, who've had success, who play with the physicality and the passion that you look for. Those are the additions that I feel like we made, and where we allocated our funds with a down cap.
Speaking of Matthew Prater, what you went through last year with the kicking woes, how important was it for you to go out and get a guy that's been a clutch kicker, the guy that can make the 50 yards, the guy that obviously has been in the trenches to where he's made a lot of clutch kicks?
That's a great question, Mike. I think it goes back to, as we looked at things analytically, it really does point to the fact that a lot of games are lost by 3 points or less. And this guy has been as good as anybody in NFL history at kicking game-winning field goals. So to be able to add not only his consistency in game-winning situations, but to have that leg strength to kick the ball over 50 yards with accuracy and consistency was really big for us.
Steve, you mentioned the cap earlier. How big a challenge has it been? I know it's every year contracts are structured a certain way, but especially this year, structuring them so the cap hit isn't as bad this year. And one other one, if you could, can you update us on the health situation and prognosis for Dennis Gardeck and the decision to put that second round tender on him with his injury, maybe a little bit of a question going into the season?
Well, I answer Dennis first. I don't think there's any question that Dennis's reputation around the NFL with special teams coaches and defensive coordinators is at a high level. Those guys, I've had many comments from different guys across the league, how impressed they are with the way he plays on teams, with the heart and the passion that Dennis brings to the field. So to me, that was an easy decision, and his health is continuing to trend in the right direction. I don't think there's anybody on our team that works any harder than Dennis Gardeck, and expect him to be at full strength next season. The other question about the challenges that the cap situation has presented, at almost $16 million, in reduction, it's created some issues and certainly has put us in a position where we've had to be a little creative. At the same time, you want to make sure that you're not creating dead money in the future, which, obviously with the voided years and some of those things that we have to do to be creative, it's something you're going to have to take on. But we wanted to minimize that as much as possible because of the things that we forecast down the road.
We'll close it out with final three, Catherine, Kyle, and Bob.
Steve, ahead of the start of the free agency, you had mentioned having that window of Kyler's rookie contract. And now that you made it through last week, how big of a factor was that in any specific decisions of trying to be more aggressive or just how it played out?
Well, it started with J.J. Watt, and he was a guy that, we certainly didn't anticipate being on the market. But, we were aggressive with that acquisition as we were with the others, and again, Kyler's rookie contract does put us in a great position for the here and the now. But we have to continue to keep adding pieces in free agency and the draft process that are going to keep things from a healthy cap standpoint in the future.
Steve, you mentioned the natural passion of guys like J.J. Watt and A.J. Green. Do you think it's another level up considering they played so long for one organization where they're going to something new and maybe they feel like either proving themselves or something different about joining somebody after a decade at one spot?
Yeah, I think it definitely creates a level of excitement, not only for our fan base, but for those players in particular. Guys become a creature of habit, and they're so used to being at one place for so long that, again, that it almost creates a little bit of enthusiasm that maybe that they wouldn't have had at another team. So I know JJ and AJ are both really, really excited about this opportunity, and I don't think the weather hurts.
Steve, the NFL announced that the draft will be an in-person event. I'm curious what that will do, if anything, for your team's plans leading up to and/or during the draft, and also was wondering more about tight end situation. Do you expect to add a tight end here in the next couple of weeks?
There could be an opportunity with a tight end. Again, we don't want to force anything or put ourselves in a bad situation from a contract standpoint, but that is definitely a market that we will monitor and look at with again, potentially making a move in the next couple of weeks. As far as the draft, it doesn't change our situation. I am excited that we'll be back in our building, in our draft room. It's a place that I've always enjoyed being on draft day. It was obviously a little different last year being at drafting from my living room, but it also has taught us a number of different things in the virtual world, and to be able to get the work in and still do it virtually has really, again, showed us some different tools that we've used now that we're out on the road and we're looking at the players in person.
Steve, thank you very much. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.